Hey guys, what's going on? We're doing a plus 18 Galakrond's Fall here, and this is part of the new Season 3 of the 10.2 patch. Basically, throughout the video, I'm going to explain the mechanics of the dungeon, and at the start, I'm going to explain the mechanics of the affixes. So, to start off with, we have Fortified, which buffs the trash mobs. Then we have Incorporeal, which you have to CC before they get their cast off. If they get the cast off, you take and deal 50% increased damage, and you deal 50% less healing. And then Sanguine, every time a trash mob dies, it drops a blood pool, so you have to watch out for that. As you notice here at the start, we had a bit of miscommunication. Uh, the tank wanted to invis pot through the first section, which didn't clearly come off as none of us quite knew, but we quickly corrected and we went and followed him. So yeah, but anyways, onto these mobs that are around here. A couple of them do something called tempo slice or something similar called that, which puts a debuff on the tank and causes them to take significantly increased damage. So you have to dispel and CC that target. And then these big guys, the Epoch Rippers, they do a Blade Storm, like they port and Blade Storm just like that. And you kind of have to just step out. Then the Chrono Weaver does a Chrono Melt, which fixates on one target and channels. Basically, all you have to do is interrupt. Then there's a Tempo Slice, you just stun it and it cancels. Then the healer dispels the tank. The biggest thing is that Tempo Slice basically, if it gets out of control, you're gonna have some serious issues if the healer doesn't dispel. It just every time they attack with it, they take 10% increased damage. So it's very important to stop that effect as soon as possible. But we get it killed, we get cleaned up after our mistake, and we have a nice smooth run after this. So this key went very well. It was actually quite surprising because I figured it wasn't going to go too well as it's Galakrond's Fall, but it was a lot easier than expected. But to start off with, this is the first boss of it called Chronicar. Basically, he's going to do Sand Stomp. You have to put it towards a wall. Basically, as you can see, it's going to drop a sand puddle, and you don't want to spread it too much around the room or else you'll run out of space. And then this shatter, basically it's going to put circles around you. You aim it, he jumps over you, and then there's a small swirly that you want to soak while watching out for those orbs. If the small swirly doesn't get soaked, it does massive group-wide damage. Then here's another sand stomp. And then he's going to do a tank buster called Chrono Shear. Now, this is a very big hit, puts a massive healing absorb on the tank, and then once the healing absorb is healed, you need a magic dispel on the tank so that way he doesn't die because he's taking increased damage during that effect. So those are things you have to watch out for. Other than that, that is it for this boss. It's pretty simple. You just have to watch your space and watch where you place things. That's about it. Pretty simple. You'll notice I get a bit of lag every so often. It's not the video, it's my computer. I something with this patch has been messing around, so I gotta try and reinstall WoW or something. So don't worry, it's not the video, it's me. But onto the next room, we have what is coming up is Manifested Timeways boss. Basically, in this room, there are going to be 4 sections of ads, and they spawn from 4 of these portals, 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. The first group is a pretty big group. There's nothing too serious to worry about. Just make sure you're interrupting the little guys there, the little Krogmaw guys. They do I don't recall what it's called, but it's basically a channel. It does say it isn't interruptible, but it actually is. I think it's a visual bug that's going on. So do keep that in mind. You can also knock it up to cancel it and such like that. So this big guy, the Coalesce time, he's going to do a, I think it's called Coalesce Volley or something like that. That is what you want to interrupt. And then this Chrono Burst, you just want to get out. So the Volley is actually called Infinite Bolt Volley. So keep that in mind. If you also have DPM, there is a check mark for Mythic Plus and raid affixes, I think, that puts timers above their head, as you see above his nameplate. It's super duper helpful knowing when they're going to cast. As you can see, it's pretty damn accurate. Um, I recommend having that on if you can. It definitely helps with timing and stuff of other things too. Very important. But so this little, I don't know, gremlin looking thing, basically he's going to put a magic debuff on the tank and one other person. It's basically a healer mechanic, but if you get it, do use a defensive. And then he also does a tank buster and a cone frontal. So be careful. Do not stand with your tank. You really shouldn't be standing with them anyways, because it's not always the smart choice to stand with your tank. Sometimes you could really get screwed. But this room is probably where most of the damage output is going to be. Um, Actually, that's not true. The toxic dragons coming up later are pretty painful. So, but yeah, these little leeches, they don't do much. They do one cast, enervated, I think. And basically, you just interrupt it before the channel starts, and you're good to go. They're pretty squishy. This portal doesn't spawn anything, by the way, so don't waste your time sitting here. It's only the two side or the four side ones that spawn stuff, and they're the same group of mobs. So just keep that in mind. So again, time anomaly. Don't stand in front. Watch out for the debuff. The healer has to make sure he's dispelling. I'm not sure how it chooses who to put the debuff on. It might be the closest target, or it might just be a nearby target. I don't know. But yeah, the new dungeons are a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this season. It's a complete blast. Just going back and doing older dungeons is kind of nice, especially some of them revamped. Not doing the same dungeons over and over each season. This is an amazing change. I hope they keep it up with future patches, because it definitely gets to be a drag later when you've done the same dungeons 8 times. It's not all that fun. And I feel like you might agree. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do like doing the same dungeons over and over because you know the mechanics, which is totally fine. You know, these dungeons just came out. It would be nice to play them rather than not play them at all. But I really enjoyed the change that they've done. And they've modified the mega dungeon so that way it isn't as difficult as the mythic version. It's actually much more simple. A few mechanics have been removed, and the damage dealt has been significantly decreased. So if you saw on the first boss, the tank buster actually used to do like twice the tank's HP, which was a lot. It's kind of crazy. So that's one thing I was worried about, but it turned out it's, pardon me, not that big of a deal, which is nice. But yeah, once you kill all the mobs around in this room, except for the leeches on the outer area, you just have to kill the portal mobs, you finally get to fight the boss. Now, this guy is going to give most groups trouble, and the reason behind that is one of the mechanics called, I think it's Chrono Melt. As you'll see when it comes up. But to start off with on this boss, there are two sections you have to worry about. You have a dark brownish section, as you see, and a light brown section. You always want to be standing in the light brown section. The reason why is you do take a bit more damage, but you gain a haste buff. Now, if you find you're taking too much damage, you can stand in the slow zone. But here are fragments of time. This spawns orbs around the boss that push outwards. If they're in the light brown zone, they'll go fast. If they're in the dark brown zone, they'll go slow. They always rotate to the right, so keep that in mind. Here is the chrono fade effect. Basically, when you want to be in the fast zone whenever you have this effect, because you want it to explode really, really fast. If you explode it in the dark brown zone, it'll be slow and it most likely will cause a group wipe. But as you see here with the orbs, as long as you go right, you should be just fine. There's no reason to go left and then back right, left, back right. Just go right. There's no tank buster to worry about. And then with the chrono melt, just make sure you always sit in this one section. Use a defensive if you have to. Don't be afraid if you have it, because it does do a significant amount of damage. But yeah, as you can tell, if you did this as regular mythic, then you probably noticed the tank buster is no longer in the boss fight, which is a huge benefit to the group, because with all this movement, having a massive frontal cone go off twice is was kind of sucky, to be honest. You could definitely get screwed over by getting hit, and the tank buster definitely did a lot of damage. So, and if you were in the fast zone, you get hit twice in a row because he was going fast. So you always had to make sure you were in the slow zone. So, but overall, this dungeon pretty great. Here I believe we do a dragon skip. So as long as you don't go past these stairs, the dragon will not activate. So as you can tell, we're all mounting up, and then we all make a run for it. So you have to go pretty quick. You have to make sure everybody is on the same page. Get past them before, and we failed to skip them. But I believe you can also warlock gate it. You go from one side platform to the other. You cannot shroud or invis pod it. He has true sight, unfortunately. But this guy, he drops like light brown swirlies on the ground. If you get hit by one, you take damage and you are stunned for the duration. And then, as you could tell earlier, he did a infinite fury, which causes massive AoE damage. So just use a defensive or something for it to help out your healer. It's if you were to go to like a 24, it'd probably kill you if you didn't use a defensive or have any heals, but on an 18, it really shouldn't kill you. Uh, these orbs that are around, if you touch them, they will explode, but you can get out of them before they explode. So if you feel like running into them, feel free. Just make sure you get out before they go off. And then we're making our way to the third boss. There are two trash mob packs before that, which are probably the hardest trash mob packs in the dungeon. And you'll see why in a second. Because you cannot pull them. Well, you could technically, but you don't want to pull these two dragons together. And the reason why is they pulsate AoE damage the entire fight. And every time one of these little bloblets dies, they buff the dragon's auto attack damage by, I think it's 10%. So the tank is also getting blasted by them. So that's why you want to be very, very careful. You want to make sure you have a defensive or like an assisted thing. So for if you play Enhancement Shaman, you can use Astral Guidance to help out your healer, get a bit of extra healing done. Just something to give him a hand. As you can see, it did quite a lot of healing on that last dragon. So very important to keep an eye. He does do a swirly every so often, a Blight spew, I think that is. Yeah, it goes pretty fast, so you got to get out of that swirly pretty darn quick. But yeah, so there's two packs of these, so you got to be careful. As you can see, the tank died there. I'm not sure quite what killed him exactly, but it was probably just an auto attack from his thingy. He goes down again, unfortunately, and I get eaten. He didn't release really fast, which was unfortunate, but he didn't end up resetting, which was nice. So we were able to finish it off. This key timer is actually quite forgiving compared to Murazon's Rise, the other half of this dungeon. You can wipe, but I think it's also due to the respawn points. They're pretty forgiving. Um, but you'll see at the end, we have a bit of an issue, but it's okay. But as you see again, pull them solo. Be careful. I'd also like to say next week I will have my 4 set. I got 2 pieces of tier this week, and I still haven't gotten my token, and I haven't used my catalyst charge. So I will have 4 piece next week at the new season, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait to try it out. And then if you are interested, I can do a guide for Mythic Plus and stuff like that. I will be doing a PvP guide eventually if you're part of the PvP crew that enjoys my arena videos. That will be happening either this week or next week. And I will be doing a lot of testing in PvP with the new tier set. And I'll also be doing PvE testing with both Storm and Elementalist, trying to see if Storm is still competitive. I have done a lot of Storm this week, and it definitely is competitive in its own way. It does allow you to take Wind Fury Totem, whereas right now I don't because I like the Elemental Assault more. Oh, pardon me. So, yeah, that'll be coming up in next week, and it's a lot of fun. Honestly, Enhancement feels so great this season. The rework is amazing, and the tier set looks insane with how much cooldown reduction we're getting. It's basically just going to be Primordial Wave Dogs, Primordial Wave Dogs. It's going to be great. But on to the third boss, the Blight of Galakrond. This boss, the best way to explain it is hot potato. So it's going to put a orb on somebody. It's going to spew it onto you. Basically, all you have to do is play hot potato with it, so that way its duration doesn't fall off until the tank buster comes out. Once it does the tank buster, as you see, it eats the orb. Now, let's say that orb's duration went all the way down. That person gets mind controlled and you have to kill them, which sucks. So make sure you pass it along. I haven't noticed if passing it hurts anything. So if you want to just keep spam passing it in between 2 people, I think that works just fine. But it's usually best to pass it between 2 melees and then get it to the tank since they're going to be near the tank anyways. But yeah, so pass it. This guy does this necrotic wings, as you can tell, it's just an AoE thing. I haven't gotten hit by a tornado, so I don't know what it does, but I assume just dodge it. Don't be with your tank as usual. The frontal will hurt you. It probably kill you, to be honest. Yeah, so pass the orb between 2 people, then get it to your tank as you watch for the timer of Blight Reclamation. Very, very important. I don't know what happens if you don't get rid of it. If you have more than 2, or as you can... Oh yeah, we forgot to get that. I don't know what would happen if you put 2 orbs on one person. Never had 2 orbs up at the same time. But now he's split into 2 dragons. This red one is going to be constantly casting. It does not have an aggro table, and it does not move when you want it to. It moves on its own. I don't know if the positions are predetermined or what, but the only thing you have to watch for is the aggro on the blue guy. The red guy just does whatever he wants, and then you have this Necrotic Frost. If you're a shaman, you can just Spirit Walk or Thunderous Paws it off. Other than that, to help out your teammates, you gotta kill it. Don't stand in that breath. Don't be like me. Don't be dumb. Uh, very important not to die. But as a shaman, we revert that death with Ankh. Love that ability. You get 1 free death, technically. Oh, there's so many times where I've died and I've just clicked it so fast that nobody noticed. It's great. Oh, I don't know what I would do without it. But onto the final hallway of the dungeon. This is right before the last boss, who is actually pretty simple. I'd say he is the second easiest boss in the dungeon. I'd probably put Manifest Time Ways at the hardest and Blight of Galakrond at the second hardest because there's just so many things that can get messed up. But we're dealing with similar mobs too as the first section. We had the Tempo Slice and the Time Rip Bladestorm looking thing, but then we also have these rock elementals. That Stone Bolt, now you can let it go off. I wouldn't recommend it, and the reason why is because it puts a pretty mean dot on anybody that gets the effect. So, and I think it's a bleed. So unless you have an evoker in the group, I'd definitely say don't let it go off. You can do almost anything to get rid of it. So, or not get rid of it, but interrupt it. You can stun, knock up, whatever you want to do, you can do that. But as you can see, the tank's taking his time. We have quite a significant amount of time left before the key is over. So, or before time runs out, I guess. So we're taking our time with the packs because Sanguine's a pain in the butt. They did change it, so if there are multiple Sanguine pools in the same spot, you only get affected by one. They're essentially all one pool, so mobs no longer get insta full health when you kill 50 things under one thing. So amazing change. Sanguine still sucks because of just how it works. Healing mobs, pain in the butt. But yeah, so stun the mobs, interrupt them, make sure casts don't go off. You have the best interrupt in the game. If you've noticed throughout the dungeon, I suck at interrupting. It's definitely one of the things I gotta work on more is just interrupting random spells whenever I can, and then leaving the important stuff to the other guys. I don't like leaving important stuff alone, so I tend to hold it for important effects, but here I could just be spam interrupting the creation so that way it doesn't go off anymore. Also, if you are the healer or maybe you're like, okay, we gotta move these mobs, take a run to the front of the cave to where the boss room is and start the RP. That way you save about 10-15 seconds. As you can see, he's kind of kiting back now, which is good. So we'll be starting it. Oh, pardon me. We'll be starting the RP here, and you'll know the boss is ready when he knocks you back. So this last boss, quite easy, simple mechanics. The important part is for the healer to heal Chromie up. That is the basically the biggest wipe potential. Other than that, if the tank gets one shot, it kind of sucks. But I think the tank gets one shot here. I don't remember. Maybe not. No. Okay. So here you will get a giant circle, or somebody will, and they have to run to Chromie, who does teleport around the map. So be wary of that. Once it hits, get on top of Chromie. There'll be two swirlies. You want to stand in the back one as DPS. The tank stands in the front one, taking the brunt of the force. Now, once this effect is done, Chromie needs healing up. So if you help a little bit, sure, but the healer should be more than enough to get Chromie to full. And then he casts this Earth Surge. Now, if you max range, he has a massive, massive hitbox. So max range makes this phase so easy. As you can see, you basically have a little sliver in between each of these rock pillar thingies that are coming out. So it makes it easy. You have to break his shield in order for him to stop casting. But every time you get damaged by this effect, I believe he does stacking increased damage. So watch out for that. You have to make sure you have the damage. Lust isn't needed, but as the phase takes longer and longer, it does get harder. But here he's going to do a massive slam. You always want to go with the same direction as everybody else. Then he spawns two ads that are the creation ads. They cast Stone Bolt. They don't take much to kill, so just blast them down and off you go. And then it repeats. Same thing. Big circle to Chromie. Now you do all this until he's at 90% health. Once he reaches 90% health, he does a burn phase, as you'll see later on. But here comes another start of the cycle. The Warlock is towards Chromie. It's in her circle, so that way he takes reduced damage. If you don't get to the circle, you're going to kill everybody. That's essentially how it works. Um, but here, Stonecracker Barrage, and then heal Chromie up again. As you can tell, Chromie's very, very low this time, so she wasn't topped off, unfortunately. Very lucky that she didn't die. But here is the burn phase. We're going to burn down a Ridicron, and that is the end of the dungeon. So I'm really enjoying this season. I'm really enjoying Enhance. Hopefully you're enjoying the videos. Hopefully you're also enjoying the season, and hopefully this helped clear up a few things that you might be wondering about the dungeon. So if you are interested, I will be doing a Mythic Plus guide eventually within the next couple of weeks with 4 set in mind. I'll also give not I will also give input on builds without 4 set requirements. But yeah, that is it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Later.